Hey guys, it's Paul from iSkateCoach.co.uk. Today I'm going to be doodling a little few doodles about spins, so there's a bit of theory for you. We're going to get straight into it. First thing we're going to cover is the marks that you might see on the ice. So a good spin, you should see loops like this. So loops that are close together are pretty good. The ideal situation is if all your loops are on top of each other. This is when you take a photo and you post it on Instagram and you celebrate and you go woohoo because it's so good on the spot. Very rarely happens. The opposite of this is when you travel. So this is when your loops are separated like this. Okay, and worst case scenario in your travel is you're also rocking on your blade, which causes turns like this. So to check the mark on the ice, see what kind of mark you're getting. This is the best one, we like this one. This is the worst one, like this. This one not so good, and this one's okay. This one's alright. I still class this as being fairly centered. I like to say that the loops are holding hands. As long as they're crossing and touching, it's not as bad as it could be over here. So the other thing you might come across when you're looking at your spin on the mark on the ice is what I call fish. Like this. Here we see our little fish. Like that. There he is. Blob, blob, blob. There's our fish. And this means you've gone into a loop and you've hit your toe pick at the top here and then scraped back out of it. So it's not quite got that same round shape that it should have in the loop. So they're fish. If you look really, really, really close to your loops on the ice, what you should see is a double line. And what that double line is where your toe pick is scraping the ice. And I use the term scraping, it's more of a tickle. Okay, so this pressure here from that first toe pick and the rest of your blade, very, very light. It's a tickle, yeah. So there's our 2 points of contact with the ice, which gives us our 2 lines on the ice. It is possible to just spin on this part of the blade and come away from the toe pick completely. It's quite difficult, but it gives you a super long-lasting, fast spin. So if you can get to that point, that's what we'd aim to do in the end. This is much more stable though, is to keep that first toe pick very, very light, just in case you need it. The other thing you might see is if you don't see a double line, you see like a very thick line. This is when that toe pick has basically gone into the ice too much here, and there's like a huge gouge. There's bits of ice flying off everywhere. Everyone's running out of the way because they're getting covered in ice. Yeah, it's too much toe. It gives you a really thick line, way too deep into the ice. Like I said, it's a tickle here, not a very deep gouge at all. Right, so we're gonna flip to a new paper. It's all recycled paper. Let's just be good to the environment. We're going to talk about travel. Okay, travel. We've just shown you the loops that travel, very bad. Loops that are holding hands and touching, not too bad. Loops on the spot, best scenario you can get. Okay, that's one worth writing home about. The other thing you might see in your loops is loops that grow bigger, like this. And what this is caused by is when you're dropping in on the inside edge of your skate. And the other thing you might see is tiny loops with a long glide in between. So this is a rocking on the blade. When the blade is rocking too far to the toe and then too far to the heel, but it's still not enough to hit the toe pick and get those turns. So you're still on the right part of the blade to loop, but it's still rocking and getting that. The other thing you might see, if you're lucky enough, very rarely, you might get loops that go round in a circle and actually join back up to where they started, which is a bit like olive leaf flower. But that's not ideal because it still means you're travelling, but it's something you might see. The other thing you might see with your turn, if you have these turns, is they've got kind of like a little halo on top. And what that is you've just caught that very first toe pick very, very, very lightly, but not quite enough to make your loop. So you're still 3-turning, it's too far forward, and it's just scratching that toe pick instead of looping. Okay, alright, that's other things to look out for. We're going to look at the entry curve edge here. So what you're looking for, I'll do it in the way that you will enter your spin. It's a long shallow curve that gets tighter at the top, and it gets tighter because you're bending your knee. Okay, about here. So down on the knee, but even more bend here will pull this round tighter. And the easiest way to remind yourself of what this is we call this half a heart. So if you can imagine the other half, there, it's half a heart. Oh. And if you spin to the right, obviously you'll be coming up this way with that shape. So I like to show my skaters this on a line, so we use the hockey lines on the ice, and I would draw this, give them this mark on the ice either with a pen, or I could draw it with my skate. But you're going to start here, try and do your left, in my case the normal spinning direction, left forward outside, edge back to the line here, extra knee bend from here to plant you on the spot there. That should be that your loops are all on the spot there. If you turn too early, you will 3-turn out and you'll travel off to who knows where. Okay, let's have a look at centering, because I mean this, basically the biggest cause of centering is turning too soon like this. You want to make sure you've gone right back into the middle, hence the tightening of the curve. So I'm going to draw that a bit more visually for you. If you imagine a circle, you're aiming to spin in the center, hence the name centering. So that half heart that we just drew comes in from here, oh, it's my phone, right into the middle to put your spin on the spot just there. So you should be able to hold your forward edge until it finds itself into the middle. It actually stops itself, and that's what we call the center of the spin. Again, if you turn too early, like that last drawing, if I turned here, say I'm coming in, I turn early, your spin's just going to travel out from there. It's not going to stay on the spot, that ideal situation that we had earlier. Common errors that you might see at this point, so at the end of here there's a little 3-turn, and that goes into your loops for your spin. So here's a few common errors that you might see around this mark. The first one I'll talk about is a fishbone. So you have your half heart, it's all good, the shape's there. What you've got are these lines here, what I call the fishbone, like that. And it makes this horrible noise when you do it. It goes on the way in. Can be pretty scary as well. What that is you're on the rocker on your way in. There's not enough pressure on the blade to come around here. Or it can also mean that you're too far on the heel. So sometimes either way you'll also skid, so what you'll have on that half heart is a thicker line here. You'll actually see it like a skid mark. Yeah, that skid mark, just on the way in, can be quite scary. Too much pressure here on the wrong part of the blade means it can't grip, or your blades are blunt, or you didn't bend your knee enough, and it skids out, or it does a fishbone here, it makes that noise. The other thing I see quite often is you'll get to the end of your half heart and there's a straight line, which is quite a thick toe scrape here, just before the spin happens, and what that's caused by is bobbing up on your knee too quickly. So you'll get this smooth entry, you'll bob up on the knee, and then you'll find the sweet spot. Not very good for your spin if you can help it. The idea here is to either come up slower or stay down on your knee. Right, let's talk about spins. So upright and sit spin. They step into your circle, so I'm going to pretend my pen is me, I'm doing my backward crossovers round, and when I step forward you should direct your spin to the centre of the circle, and that's for upright and sit spin. now for the camel, if my back cross is coming round, what we should aim to do is step out, away from the middle, and this is because your free leg stays behind you. Okay, I'm sure your coach can explain a bit more about this to you. What it means is your new center is out here off the circle. Okay, and it's different for these two because your free leg comes around for the upright and the sit spin. It's a different hip position than the camel, and that's why we step out on the camel and step in on the upright and the sit spin. The last thing I want to draw you is some stickmen. So I use 3 stickmen for my upright spins when I teach people. Stickman 1 has legs and arms out. Hopefully you'll have your toes pointed, not like this little man. So that's stickman 1, the most important, this one, because a lot of people start their spin halfway in and then you lose all your power before you pull in. Okay, so stickman 2 is the leg in and the arms are still out. And stickman 3 finally is everything in, so the legs in and the arms in too. And that is our final position before you push out. You can get the most out of your upright spin. If I do a quick doodle of, let's see, paper here. I'll try this. Sit spin. We'll try and do this now. This is always a tricky stick man to draw. There, roughly. Let's pretend that's it there. Okay, one thing I look for in a sit spin is that the head is in line with the knee, which is also in line with the rocker of your blade, just there. Quite often, I see a lot of people, they're sat back, or the head's too far forward even, can be too far forward too, from there, so it's not in line, and it's spinning off center. To get the most speed out of your sit spin, you need to try and get your head. Normally it's back, so it's better posture in your spine here, or pull your head back, or in this case, actually it's too low, you need to lift your bottom up a little bit and tilt this whole thing forward slightly. And the stickman I quite often draw for the camel is to show this banana shape in the back is something we should be trying to achieve, is an arch in the back and then a lift of the leg, and it's the feeling like you're pulling your foot towards your head, or even your head and your foot up towards the ceiling. Sometimes I say it like that, but this banana position is really vital to keep the camel spin strong and spinning. If you're doing it the wrong way, like this, all to the floor, it's going to be slow and it's not going to stay there very long, and it's probably going to wobble off until you fall on the floor in a big heap. Right, that's it for the doodles, guys, for the spins. Any questions, leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I'm going to pop this on YouTube too if you're seeing it anywhere else on Instagram or Facebook. I hope you liked it, and we will see you soon. Bye bye.